welcome back to another fantastic live episode. I had an idea. We'll use the live episodes to read the absolute abomination that is my comments section. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello to the 5 million trillion people in the chat. Thank you for saying hi to each other, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm kidding, there's nobody in my chat because it's the middle of the night. Okay. Here we go. Oh yeah, I want to preface this. Gaius, how's it going? Gaius, aka Espiritu, how are you doing? We are going to be reading my comments section live and commenting on the comments. And I first have to note that the comments section is now more broke than it was the last time it was broke. So if I do not see your comment, if I do not read your comment, it is not because I am a raging bastard. It is because the comments section has almost completely ceased to stop working. And when I click the filters to turn everything on, it actually hides probably 99% of the comments. It's a real clusterfuck. Gaius says, what about Jimmy Kimmel saying about Charlie Clark and Trump? That's a good question. I did happen to see the snippet of that. Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air, and from what it sounds like, he doubled down that the Charlie Kirk assassin is not affiliated with anybody, which is well, no, he's already back on the air, and he's already said it again. And I don't think if he's funny, or I don't know if he thinks he's funny, smart, or clever, or if he's just parroting, the meow meow meow, the Chinese bots, or what it is. But meow wow. But all right. I didn't see what Ted Cruz said. Did Ted Cruz say something about it? Come on, meow wow. Come on, meow wow. The assassin was he was in a trans death cult. I mean, the evidence is just insanely overwhelming. So them saying that he's a conservative and that it was conservative on conservative attack is insane. And so the fact that he would say that again, and I covered this in my most recent podcast. I don't think the government should be weaponizing the FCC on Jimmy Kimmel. I think everybody should just stop watching his show and write to everybody that it is insane. There was an interesting counter argument I read, though, about the FCC that said, they kind of have a duty that people aren't just like absolutely lying their asses off to like a massive audience, and that it's kind of like a news show in a way. That would be an interesting angle, and I don't know what I think about that. People have a freedom of speech and they shouldn't be getting attacked by the FCC, but if he's going to act like a news station with their stupid fucking little stand-up bullshit that they do, then he should probably be a little bit more careful and not say something that's blatantly false and patently echoing, Chinese bot propaganda. And I would say it's no different than the Russiagate hoax, and exactly. I know. I'm getting to that, Ringo. Okay. What were the other hoaxes? If the government bans people, it looks bad. Yeah. It's a bad look because Jimmy Kimmel is already an idiot and nobody watches him. like, they're already hemorrhaging money. They just need an excuse to get rid of him. Like, he fucking sucks. So, but I don't think the FCC should be weaponized against that. I think the FCC should be taking care of, spam callers and stuff, and those, those cell phone diddly doos with the SIM cards and stuff. Like, those all seem like FCC, since that could disrupt, actual communications. Whereas Jimmy Kimmel is only talking to his own little base of fucking retards. So, all right. If you have more questions, leave them in the chat. Ringo, scoot over, please. Please, Ringo. No? Okay. All right. So these are loosely in the order they're supposed to be. Like I said, the filter's not working. All right. Jabonesy said, a long time friend. He says, off topic, how big is your garden? What all do you grow? It would be cool to see some videos on what you grow. And he in addition, he says, the U.S. is going nuts. The government or governments are trying to turn us all against each other. It's working pretty well. Too bad the government no longer fears its citizens. And yes, the Second Amendment has all but been banned here on the West Coast. And they are just... I think the taxes are just about to go up like another 5% or something like that. They're blaming tariffs, but you can go look it up. But they're sending taxes through the roof. Groceries here are going to become unaffordable. Gas, fuel, petrol is up to like $5 a gallon in some places again, which is more expensive than it was during Sleepy Joe. Actually is about exactly as expensive as Sleepy Joe when they sold all of our strategic petroleum reserves to China. You can go look at that up. That's 100% real. So they are trying to turn us all against each other. And I've said so many times, you're going to see videos and YouTubes of people that look just like you getting hurt. And you have to be able to compartmentalize the fact that you don't just lash out at everybody. That is just going to make things messier in the long run. So you got to focus on what the real problems are and address those. But to answer the question, we have 3 gardens. But we also have a full orchard and then like a second orchard. 2 medium-ish sized gardens and then a massive garden. We have, aside from the apple trees and pear trees, we inherited a bunch of plum trees and blueberries. We have more blueberries, elderberries, grapes, raspberries. And then for kind of the normal yearly stuff, this year we have cucumbers, zucchini, tomatoes, and then a couple other things that didn't work out very well. And I'm trying to do strawberries, but the strawberries are really struggling. Again. All right. So, Earl says a fall edition. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do at least one, edition of Bunker Basics. Update a year, maybe 2, but I'm not gonna do more than that. Currently, all I'm doing is adding more fun little quotes, and people get really upset at me, like, "Oh, you make updates." Whoa. But really most of what I'm doing is just kind of like future-proofing the tech. So like I heard some, and I'm always trying to like debunk like a lot of the misinformation that prepper bullshit goes on. So something that I heard from from a source that should have been the source said that solid state batteries were out in China and being mass produced and in vehicles, and that is 100% fake, false, lies, propaganda, China, dick sucking. The person should have known better. They were in a very high position of authority, and they shouldn't have said that. So I wanted to go make sure I update my book. Also, City Prepping was at the new Battery Expo, and he pointed out that there was at least 2 different manufacturers that were releasing sodium batteries into the mainstream, and so I went and checked my book and make sure that that was still up to date. But I mean, besides that, I added a teeny tiny bit more literature in the religion section. So, like, you're not missing out on anything. It's just like, it's kind of a normal thing. And going back to, doing the thing that I said I wasn't going to do, but we're going to fucking do it. I'm just going to point out really quick a couple. I'm going to go to the top 100 of survival and emergency preparedness. Okay. The number 1 book still is the SAS Survival Handbook. Okay. And at least the last time I checked in here, the SAS Handbook actually occupied 2 different slots. I do not see it here now, so the other one must have finally gotten bumped out or merged. The Survival Medicine Handbook, fucking bullshit book that I just... so for some fucking bullshit reason, it occupies space number 3 and space number 4. They have the same fucking authors and shit, but like it has the different authors listed in slightly different names and titles. So that's number 3 and number 4. And the last time I checked this, it occupied at least 1 more slot. No, there's the second SAS Survival. So SAS Survival's in there twice. And the medical book is in there twice. Just for some fucking reason. Some fucking bullshit reason. What are some of the other ones? The how to invent everything book is in here. That shouldn't even be in here. The zombie survival guide shouldn't even be on here anywhere. What are a couple of the other ones? I also don't think there should be fiction in here anywhere. But for some reason, exactly. For some reason, there's multiple fiction books here. Oh, and the I'm Dead Now What End of Life Planner is still in here. That should not fucking be on here anywhere. That's insane. Let's see. I'm trying to find, Lights Out. That's the movie there. That's the book that everybody fucking talks about. That's a fictional book. It shouldn't be. I mean, that's one of like the premier fictional prepper, fiction books, but it shouldn't be on here. Where are a couple of the other ones? Oh, yeah, the Amish Survival Bible, 70 books in one, and the Practical Prepper Survival 70 in one. These, 70 in one books. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of those on there just for no fucking reason. Don Schiff's radio book is on here, which is good. So there's a bunch of really good ones on here too. Joe Dolio's books are all on here. Several of Don Schiff's are on here. Those are all phenomenal books. Shadow Survival, which is like flying to the top, is 72 right now. People are shitting all over it though. The funny thing is if I knew this person's name, I probably know who this is. His picture, the picture on the back of his book is like really fuzzy though. I thought that was interesting. That guy that shot up to the top. Anyway, blah blah blah. The point is, a bunch of them aren't on here right now, but there's usually like 5 Baofeng AI ripoffs on there. None of those should be on there. There's only one Baofeng book that's the real one. So yeah, all the Don Schiffs are on here. All the Joe Dolios are on there. Like, those are good. Those are ones that should be on here. And obviously the Ranger Handbook and the Ranger Medic, like all the obvious ones. There's a new nuclear war survival skills one I haven't seen before, but the U.S. Armed Forces Nuclear Biological Chemical Survival Manual is already on here, so I don't know why there needs to be. There's already other good nuke books. I was talking to my friend about this. Like, I don't know why there needs to be 5, 10, 15 of the same book on here. Anyway. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's Zombie Survival Guide. Zombie Survival Guide number 16. That shouldn't be on here. I don't know. It's infuriating to me why they couldn't make a fictional survival and emergency preparedness section, why they have to cram them both in the same one. I don't think it's fair to people that are trying to make actual prepper books. I hear you guys. Okay, so blah blah blah. Anyway, the point to all that is, I just want to point out that I am not the only person that makes multiple editions. That this fucking survival medicine handbook has 2 formats. The other one has 5 formats. And I know that there's at least 2 more of those that just aren't on the top 100 right now. Also, the reviews on this Meals in a Jar is dog shit. That book probably shouldn't be on here either. And the problem is, and I've been trying to explain this to people in the past, once your book can hang out in the top 100 for a while, it kind of just becomes a staple. Like this How to Invent Everything book has fucking terrible reviews, but it's been up here for years. And there's no way to get it off this list. And it's like, well, what do you do? Right? The person could try to update it, but you know, a lot of these people don't update them. They just make a second one and then they fucking occupy 2 spots on the list. It's ridiculous. So anyway, all that is to say, it's completely normal making updates to your book. And I just got so much unnecessary hate for that. So thanks for hanging in there. I will get you a signed copy of the next edition. Birio says, was horrified to find out they were targeting Catholics attending church. Yes. Churches every week have become more and more and more and more and more under attack. Also, within just the last 2 days, federal buildings have become way more under attack. ever since Trump did an executive order saying that Antifa is a terrorist organization, which has no legal standing and doesn't legally mean anything at all. All it does has emboldened them, and that is a huge problem, because if you declare them a terrorist organization and nothing happens to them and they're emboldened, then you just whacked the hornet's nest with absolutely no way to deal with it. They can't deploy the National Guard fast enough, and coordinated enough. Just the whole thing is falling apart. Gnostic Nomad says equipment limitations, line of sight doesn't equate curvature. LOL. Militaries over oceans with the correct equipment reach vast distances that shouldn't be possible if 8 inch per mile squared was actually the real equation. First of all, what the military does over the ocean is completely different than what, a ham radio operator with a little radio can do, talking to, a boat that's out in the ocean somewhere on the marine bands. I'll also point out that it would be impossible for boats to talk to each other over the ocean on the other side if the fucking planet was flat, because they wouldn't be able to radio to the other side of the planet where the ships would be having sailed the other direction. I don't want to get into a giant argument about it because it's a stupid argument. It's a waste of time and it's a distraction. I don't get into truther arguments about anything, because truther arguments are just someone learns about something, they get excited, they think they're the first person to have discovered this, and then they go out and try to have the arguments. I've seen this 1,000 times, and I don't care. It is just completely irrelevant. The facts of the universe are the facts of the universe. That's just that they're not really up for debate. I've been a ham radio operator for quite a while. And I have to be very, very conscientious when I'm practicing my radios. If the planet was fucking flat, you would be able to send it would just radio traffic would be impossible to talk on the radio if the planet was flat, because somebody on a high enough wattage 200 feet up would be able to send radio traffic for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fucking miles, and they can't. Not straight line of sight, because they're not line of sight because the planet's curved. Anyway, it's not up for debate. I'm not debating it with you. Those are just the facts, and if you're going to be a ham radio operator, you need to know that. Cucumber Farmer says the FCC should allow GMRS, UHF, VHF on the same radios. You should be able to put up your antenna as long as you won't interfere with power lines and aircraft. Well, if your antenna interferes with the power lines, you're just going to explode. So I don't recommend that. That's actually one of the main rules of ham, is don't touch the power lines with your antenna. Aircraft, yeah, that's aircraft is hence the 200-foot rule. Cucumber says, I have a GMRS license, studying for technician for ham. After technician, I want to get a general. General doesn't get you a lot, but it does allow you to send on some frequencies that can go a lot further. I think I'd have to bust out my little matrix, and I don't have it with me right now. It's out of reach. So I agree, and I've had very long, licensing discussions. The problem is, I get why they gate the radios, because people commercially lease, a channel to be able to do their job on. But the answer is not gating out the radio to where you can't use it if there's an emergency, or if you're a part of an emergency service. Like, that shit that's what's insane to me. And I was a part of an official, licensed, sanctioned response team, and I had my Yaesu, and they did not tell me when I bought it that it had certain channels gated out, and those channels were the channels that the emergency team happened to be using that day. And again, this was an official, with the county, real certification in firefighters and EMTs and real search and rescue and everything, and I couldn't fucking use the radio on the channels that they wanted, because the FCC thinks they're smarter than everybody and forces everybody to lock channels down for no fucking reason. You should, if the radio can transmit on 2 meter, 70 centimeter, it should just be able to send on all of the available band that's for reserved for voice, or Morse code, or whatever. That's just, it's insane. Yes, I know people could fuck with each other, but the vast majority of radios, it takes about 2 seconds to unlock it anyway. Except for the Yaesu, you've got to get out a razor blade and pop one little chip off. But I've heard it reboots the radio. But I have other problems with Yaesus. Like I've said, Yaesus are DRM locked. Like, you need to have a code that has to talk to the fucking internet to be able to use the software to program your radio, which I think should be 100% illegal. I think you can program it on the face, but it's very impractical. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, I also pointed out, it's funny, the antennas don't need to go up very high to just reach your little area. So if you have a 2-story house, the antenna just needs to go above the 2-story house. So you can talk to all the other people that have their antennas just above the 2-story houses. So I don't know why the HOA Karens would be so mad about that. All the old HF antennas were higher than that anyway. They were all higher, just a little bit higher than the roof. And the satellites, are usually like pretty fucking high up on a house too. And I've seen houses with like 5 satellites. So I don't know why all the HOA Karens aren't. It feels like to me like it is a direct attack on ham radio operators and lessening our survival and emergency preparedness. And so fuck them. It's stupid. Birio says he can't keep up. He clarified later it's because I was loading my videos too late. CDK said the world's spinning too fast. Yeah, things are in fast forward mode. CDK says 2 in a row I'm late. Yeah, I was uploading bangers back to back there for a little bit. Gerald Calhoun says I missed you. And he was talking about the live, I think. I'm not sure. Actually, my comments glitched out. It has his comment multiple times. So Jimmy DeGritz says, everything you're saying is true. What strikes me is that even this narrow topic still points to the fact of some sort of fracturing. National divorce or civil war is inevitable. It's pointless to go protest in a city where the power is aligned against you because they can simply see you as their enemy, as ontologically evil, and so you have zero impact on anything they decide. On the other hand, you can protest in a friendly area, and even as you break state laws, the local prosecutors and judges that are ideologically aligned with you will just let you skate. Note how I didn't specify which political side because at this point it's the same on both. I don't think conservatives in conservative areas are breaking any laws by peacefully protesting, so I don't know what you mean there, but definitely with the lefties, it's a massive problem. In fact, they just let a suspected murderer go. I put the link up in my posts. They just let a suspected murderer out earlier. They said it was on accident. So, no, I don't think both sides are the same in parts of the prosecution and judges. I think corruption identifies with corruption. Just like there was this other one where the guy that defended himself is the one on trial, and the person that he had to defend himself from is the person saying that he doesn't want to press charges and he wants leniency for the person who's on trial and in jail for having to defend himself against a crackhead, meth head guy that was tweaking the fuck out. It's on video. This shit's on video. That's the thing. Like, don't tell me that both sides are the same when it comes to prosecution. When it's like, oh, when you see three valedictorians, stabbing, a person of another ethnicity over and over and over again, and then they don't want to release the video because it'll taint the jury pool, and they say, oh, context matters. It's like, what the fuck do you mean context matters? There's 3 wonderful, upstanding youths of a certain ethnicity stabbing a guy of a certain ethnicity over and over again outside a library. What the fuck do you mean? Oh, now you want there to be, some nuance? Fuck off. And that's the prosecution. That's the state. That's the judges. Oh, we need to dial it back. It's like, what do you mean you need to dial it back? Why are you letting these psychos go? Like, you wouldn't have to worry about civil war and civil unrest and vigilantes and, oh, there's lynch mobs. Well, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that if there was actual law and order. If your little valedictorians weren't running around stabbing people, maybe if you put all these rocket scientists and doctors in jail when they run around and fucking stab people, maybe you wouldn't have to worry about all these race bait riots going on. And likewise, if they actually threw meth heads in jail instead of letting them accumulate massive tire fortresses that they sell drugs out of. I mean, crime and low IQ feral behavior is not isolated to a single ethnicity. So, as I've said in the past. And also, I'm not sure if I ended up talking about this or not, but I think you should be able to hold a vigil in a city. I think you should be able to hold a concert in a city of your choosing that's appropriate, or maybe just the one that just happens to geographically be convenient for everybody. But I think that if it's going to be, a rally, a protest, or a riot, you should be much more careful about where you choose to do that. You shouldn't be rioting at all. But if you do decide to riot, which I don't know why you would, maybe you are trying to sucker the other side into a riot so you can beat the living shit out of them. You need to be doing that where it's advantageous to you. Just saying. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, you may as well just get law enforcement on your side right out of the gate to set up everything. If you're going to be protecting businesses or whatnot. There are still some areas where you can work with police and still defend businesses. Cucumber Farmer says, I think he was saying he bought Roaming Preppers book is what I think he is saying. Let's see if Roaming... Oh, gosh darn it. Yeah. He bought Roaming Preppers book. So if you bought Roaming Preppers book, don't forget to give it a comment on the Amazon. Ringo is on one. Let's see if he's got any. No, he doesn't have any new reviews. So don't forget, if you like a book, if you like the author, don't forget to do a review, because it's going to be really, really hard for Roaming Prepper to get his book off the ground, especially when the ranking categories that it's putting him in is really weird. Which it's done that to me before too. So, yeah. Let's see. ZMJ says, Chance my dog hanging strong. Thank you, ZMJ. Ontario Prepper says, aw, and yawns at me. But I think that was in response to me saying aw to him, because I think his son was buying his first rifle or something. So I don't know if he's being silly. He's got a different sense of humor. I don't talk to him that much. So I think he's just being silly. I hope. I can't imagine him being mean. Roaming Prepper says he did a short live stream. He got 0 views, 0 thumbs up, 0 comments. And I was actually going to message him and tell him that. So the fact that he reached out was convenient. He did a stream that just didn't load at all. Like, it just stayed at a white screen with no comment. Like, just like a broken YouTube page. He redid it though, and it turned out just fine. Love and Light says protesters with no hate signs are hating. Oh, that's in response to my what if you had 3 days until civil unrest shit hits the fan, which I think was like right after the Charlie Kirk thing. Yeah, the most intolerant little bastards. Well, it's gotten even worse now. Birio and Rural were both saying that they haven't actually listened to the entire series of my podcast yet. They said they would, and that's cool. I was on Rural's podcast. It turned out really good. I'd like to be on Rural's podcast again someday. I feel like me and him are really hitting it off. Rural is one of the is a rarity. He is very nice. He's very attentive. He's very good at facilitating. He is good at a lot of things. Most people are not good at as many things as he's good at. So it is a pleasure working with him. He feels like a high performer. So the opportunity to work with him is a breath of fresh air. Tuck says, "You the man." Tuck was also listening to my old episodes. ZMJ says, "No worries, boys. The topic is it. Now figure it out." That was episode 111. Yeah. Sometimes I don't really have a topic. Granny said she's going to pick up Roaming Pepper's book. CDK was saying his feet hurt bad because he was at a concert. And I think I might be caught up. This is when Rural was talking about people only having one freezer. That shit still blows my mind. You simply cannot store. I mean, yeah, you can still store dry stuff, but fridges and freezers can store a lot of food too. And if you have, a good off-grid setup, you're going to be able to store a lot of food for a long time. What shocks me is not only do a lot of people still only have one fridge, but they still don't have any batteries or solar. There is literally no excuse now. And then someone in Marv's chat earlier was like, "Oh, people aren't made of money. That's why there's so many batteries for sale, because people don't have money to buy them." And I bit my tongue. I want to say, not everybody's poor. And even some people that are really struggling with money, if you have $800 worth of food in your fridge, you can afford a battery to power the fridge for a few days. It's kind of like if you have tons of guns, you can afford a safe. And if you have tons of ammo, you can afford mags. People are just, but they'll go buy, the fucking iPhone 22. So anyway, I think I'm caught up. Scrolling through. I think that's it. So that's I think through all of the comments. Let's go look at the update for justice for Lola and Ruby. They raised for the two gals. They raised almost 100,000 GBPs. Is that global British pounds? Something GBPs. 100k GBPs is a lot. I hope those two girls are okay. Or three girls. For those of you who don't remember, that's the gal that pulled a freaking axe and a sword out of nowhere, like a freaking video game, to defend herself from a bunch of migrants, illegals. And before the Charlie Kirk thing happened, people were talking about Lola, Ruby, and Maya, and contrasting the fact that girl was ready to defend her two friends with a sword and axe, and Ukrainian gal had her head buried in her phone. And you could see like the two outcomes. There's no updates on here, but GiveSendGo makes sure that the money is actually going to the right people. So hopefully, I know the guy and whoever he was with, they were unclear if it was his sister, girlfriend, or whatever. They did end up getting arrested, and so hopefully these girls are safe. But knowing the laws over there, and knowing that poor kids don't get as much, don't get some of the same leeway. Anyway, I'm rambling. So that's kind of part one of the episode. I see a couple people in the chat. Does anyone in the chat have any questions for me? I have one more radio episode planned, but it might end up just being like really, really, really short. Basically, my radio videos are still doing pretty good. And I know what I want my fourth radio video to be, which is going to be how to program a radio without having your Windows updates turned on. So we will see. I'm checking the comments of those really quick. I think I've actually covered all those, but YouTube was blocking comments of people asking me like legitimate radio questions in my radio videos. Shit's like really super frustrating. My troubleshooting video didn't do very well. And my troubleshooting video is probably one of my better videos. You didn't hear about the one with the sword? Yeah, dude. Oh shoot, I closed it. Justice for Lola and Ruby. There's... Oh, here. Hold on. Yeah, here. Throw it in the chatteroo. Bulgarian migrants charged assaulting. Yeah, these were young girls. And yeah, one of them was knocked unconscious and had some pretty big head injuries, and then they were starting to work on the other two girls. So then she like busts out a tomahawk and a sword, basically. There's like screaming. I don't want to get copyrighted and shit. Yeah, she like, the one girl's recording, the other girl's already knocked out, and then this girl out of nowhere, and then the guy's trying to surround her. Boom! She pulls out a fucking huge kitchen knife and an axe, and is able to defend her friends. And then she's the one that went to jail. But because there was enough pressure, they finally had to, serve justice. But that's why poor communities often get preyed on for like child trafficking and the such, because either nobody will believe them, or they'll get in more trouble for reporting it than they will just dealing with it. So she became quite the folk hero, but that got drowned out several days later by the Ukrainian gal that got sliced and diced on the train by another valedictorian rocket scientist. And then obviously both of those got overshadowed by the Charlie Kirk thing. So it's just been one mess under another, over another. And I don't think the ethnicity is at fault. I think the government should be actually doing its job. People wouldn't be at each other's throats if the government was just doing its job. So there wouldn't be migrant problems. There wouldn't be Islam problems. There wouldn't be low IQ feral problems. There wouldn't be Mexican cartel problems. It just wouldn't. We wouldn't be at each other's throats because there wouldn't be any problems. Ooh, Jimmy says, I just popped in, so maybe you discussed it, but curious about your thoughts on where we go from here in terms of the fallout. Memorial was massive. What do you mean, where do we go from here? Or where are they going to go from here? I already know where they are going to go from here. There's going to be a massive power vacuum. And it's already started. It's just metric shit tons of grifters trickle shitting out bullshit fucking information. People who should really know better. Oh, he was wearing a trauma pad. Oh, he was wearing armor. How did the bullet just disappear? If it was a 30-06, how'd the bullet disappear? And I stand by that this is different from Orange Man, one of the one with his ear, because I think everybody was trying to unravel a legitimate mystery, a massive security failure. I think that is way different from this Charlie Kirk thing. People are trying to make it into something it's not. It's nuts, and they totally forgot about the guy that was at the golf course, which is insane. And then that guy was he was put on all counts, then promptly stabbed himself in the neck or something today. That shit is unreal. So where do they go from here? They're gonna all just grift on this as absolutely much as they can, and you're gonna see 10,000 new Charlie Kirks of varying qualities. Oh, the trapdoor in the grass. Yeah, man. I was like, okay, you guys have had too much fucking Kool-Aid. There could have been a second guy with a pistol. But then they would have heard two shots, and they would have heard the shot from the other way. I mean, maybe there was a guy with a pistol that was there to finish the job and realized he didn't have to. Or maybe he was a concealed carry and thought he was going to stop a bad guy. I don't know, but I don't know where the bullet went. Did they find the bullet in his neck? Like, I don't know. So, but it's so irrelevant. It's not a big mystery that needs to get solved. Everybody is just fucking grifting. I hate that I even have to talk about it. It's a stupid fucking thing to talk about. Whereas with Orange Man, with the ear thing, I think there was a lot there that needed to get solved. Like, why the fuck were all the security in the building and not on top of the building? It's retarded. That's just so stupid. The Charlie Kirk thing is nothing like that. Things that happen in and around Orange Man, I think, are just on a completely different level. Take, for example, the escalator getting shut off today, exactly when he was going to stand on it. What the fuck was that about? Why isn't everybody losing their shit about that? That would have been a perfect ambush. And somebody did that to him. Why didn't they have security monitoring the person that was supposed to be controlling the escalator? Why didn't his security team cover him while he had to get up the escalator? See, those things are like 10,000 times more interesting to me than this Charlie Kirk grifter shit. And I'm sure if Charlie Kirk was alive, even though I've never watched any of his stuff, I'm sure that he would be fucking disgusted at everybody trickle shitting out content and ad revenue and everything for just weeks on end. It's just disgusting. Whereas with Orange Man, I think it's different. Or like when Macron got punched by his man wife coming out of the jet. Like, Charlie Kirk was loved by a lot of people, and he was, the messiah of all the, college kids and shit. But he was not a world leader. He got like the biggest ceremony of any private person ever, probably, they treated him like royalty and stuff, and I just don't know. Would we do that for Alex Jones? Would we do that for Joe Rogan? And I wish no harm on those people, and I hate to even bring up their names and put that juju into the world. But would we do that for them? Is this I don't know. And it's weird. It's weird to me. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think you should have a memorial. But I don't know. I just don't know. Something about it it doesn't seem like something that somebody would actually want. And what I kept coming back to is like Princess Diana. What I mean is using it for escalation. Trump will move National Guard, designating and those terrorists all antagonize the far left. The far left is going to do whatever they're going to do anyway. So I did cover it earlier, but what I will say is antagonizing Antifa is dumb if he isn't going to back it up. And riots by the midterms, there's already been riots. There's been riots for months and months and months and months. They've been rioting since April, and they've been blocking freeways and overpasses and bridges and shit since before that. If you don't know that, you're not aware. But nothing you do or don't do to them is going to directly impact the fact that they're rioting and protesting all the fucking time, no matter what you do. From, it was stupid Palestine bullshit. The 2020 level riots were because of George Floyd. And they were already rioting and protesting and everything before that. They sit around and wait. This happens every 4 to 5 years, no matter what. They sit and wait and train and gather resources, and recruit, until whoever the powers that be decide that it's time. It could be they rioted and protested and went after the Supreme Court justices over the Roe v. Wade thing. So what, are we just not supposed to kick abortions back down to the state level because they might riot? They riot about everything. Before the 2020 riots, there was the 2016 riots. There was, I don't remember the riots there, but there was riots all the way through 2014 to 2016. Just insane levels of riots. And then before that, you have the Wall Street, I forget the name of the Wall Street one. And then before that, you had the WTO riots, and before that, you had the Rodney King bullshit. Like, it just never fucking ends. It never fucking ends. And you have to realize that they are going to protest and riot and shit no matter what. And it's on a schedule no matter what. So if he has to come up with some reason to dust the National Guard off, because remember, Sleepy Joe had them all bowing and taking the knee to like the trans and LGBT and shit. There was pictures and photographs of like National Guard like bending the knee for LGBT protests and stuff. So he has to like dust all that off somehow, so they're prepared again. So using it as escalation, it's a cause and effect thing. The escalation's going to be there no matter what. It's going to happen no matter what. Should he move them into Chicago and New York? No, he didn't. He didn't move National Guard into Chicago. In New York. New York deployed their own National Guard into the subways. Nobody even remembers that now. They did it themselves. Oregon deployed their own National Guard to their own protests. Inslee in Washington almost deployed his National Guard against us during the Rona lockdowns for wanting to drive to a different county. He had his finger on the button and he had him mobilized. He was ready to hit the button, and they were going to have checkpoints that people weren't going to be able to drive through. States deploy National Guard all the time. It's just usually for fires and shit, but they deployed the National Guard in Oregon to help with the hospitals. So it's going to antagonize people no matter what. Like, fuck them. Like, it's not going to do that much good anyway. But, I mean, it's better than not trying. If you don't have the National Guard mobilized and something happens, it takes 3 to 5 days. That's enough for, like, a whole city to get wiped out. You think having an active enemy helps Trump consolidate power? It does not. It does not help him consolidate power. He can't overreach anything. That's giving him way too much credit. He is another weak ass rhino, just like all of the other weak ass rhinos. It is the left that will constantly, dramatically overreach. Conservative leadership has never thrown so many people in jail for so long as what the left did on January 6th. Not even close. Or the New York Nine, or Vickers, or FPS Russia, or Rich Wyatt, or the whole just laundry list of how many people the left has thrown in the gulag. That's never happened with conservatives. The conservative leadership has never just thrown metric shit tons of people in the gulag forever. Or what they did to fucking what's his face? Steve Bannon. What they did to Steve Bannon. What they tried to do to Rudy Giuliani. Like, that is all the left. And granted, yes, the left and the right are all controlled by the same people, and the money all comes from the same place, and yada, yada, yada. But the vax mandates came from both the left and the right. But no. If you think that the fucking old ass rhinos who can't even agree on a budget, and the left and right can't even agree on when to accept or reject a budget, even between the House and Senate, if you think the right is going to somehow grow a giant pair of balls and actually do something that is fucking hilarious, that shit is never going to happen. Republicans are so fucking pathetically weak. They can't even kick the H-1Bs out of the country. They can't even actually charge, $100K to every H-1B. They can't even kick all the fucking Mexicans out of the country that are here illegally. They are weak and pathetic. Republicans are weak and fucking pathetic. Trump is weak and pathetic. Musk was weak and pathetic. They all are. They are fucking weak. They are not going to do anything. They chicken shit out the second they can, and then they go kiss Israel's wall for some fucking reason. Like, we're going to ban men from women's sports. That shit's still happening. We're going to get rid of DEI. DEI is still everywhere. We're going to bring manufacturing back. That hasn't happened. Oh, it'll happen in 2027. We're going to bring jobs back. Oh, just kidding. It's more H-1Bs. They're weak. They're fucking weak. They say that they're going to do shit and they never fucking do it. We're going to put Hillary in jail. They never did. We're going to investigate Epstein. Oh, nothing happened. The list is so long. I can't even think of how long the list is. They haven't restored the Second Amendment at all. There's still corrupt district judges throughout the entire U.S. They haven't done anything about that. They tried to make everybody return to the office just so they could lay them all off. The rhinos are a joke. They're a fucking joke. And then half of them are just controlled opposition for the other half that actually want to do something. And Trump was never a Republican. Trump has always been a Democrat. The reason why this administration feels different, and I was just telling somebody this the other day, this is the first Republican administration probably ever that has like a coalition government, because they have RFK and Tulsi and a couple others. They they reached across the aisle, and at the end of the day they completely edged Kamala out of her own game. And Trump didn't fuck up this time like he did last time. Like, he has a lot of relatively solid people on his side now. He has a very strong coalition. That's the difference. They still can't do anything, but they're very strong. Kash Patel and Joe Doe Bongino, they're all very strong. Pam Bondi's a little weird sometimes, but I don't know what she's doing. And, the other gal, Ice Gal, I can't fucking remember all the names, and they all look the same to me. He's got a really strong coalition this time. That's the difference. That's why people are so scared. Because he could do something if he wanted to. He could. He's not going to. They won't let him, but he could. Yeah. Yep. People support him now. That's it. You're right. But people support him because for the first time ever, he learned. He's not stupid. Like, he learned what he fucked up last time. And what he fucked up last time was he had a really, really, really weak coalition that he couldn't trust. That was stabbing him in the back, that was leaking information. You know what else? What else is really, really big this time from last time is he's plugged all the leaks. He's plugged all the leaks. So there isn't shit constantly leaking out all the time. His last presidency would have been completely different if he'd had a strong coalition and he hadn't had leaks, but he didn't have anybody he could trust. Well, he spent 4 years learning who he could trust. It was the same thing with Bush Jr. I know a lot of people didn't like Bush Jr., but he ended up being surrounded by a lot of people that he couldn't trust. A lot of people that did not have his best interest in mind. Dick Cheney. I think Bush Jr.'s presidency would have been way different, if he had had a good VP. And look at Trump's first term. He had a dog shit VP. I liked What's-His-Face at first, but What's-His-Face ended up being a part of the Rhino controlled opposition. What's his name? I don't even fucking remember his name. The VP piece of shit. And now Trump has an amazing VP. An amazing VP. So there's a ton of differences. There really is. But Israel's balls deep in everything now, and Trump can't get away from the Ukraine war, and he can't get away from Pence. That's his name. I liked Pence at first. I liked his calm demeanor, but then I realized he's just another piece of shit. He should have invalidated the election, but then we wouldn't have had what we have now. So it kind of worked itself out. So those 4 years were not fun. So yeah. So the other part of your question, what are we going to do? We are going to train, network, train, over and over and over, and not get fucking distracted, and plant as many vegetables as you can, because food's about to get a lot more expensive. Practice your grid down shit, because the fucking grid's going to be going down. Practice hardening your church, because people are going to be coming after your church. That's what you do. Don't listen to all these fucking talking head retards. None of them know what's going on. None of them know what's going to happen. Although supposedly Veritas guy has got something coming out soon, which will be interesting. But usually his stuff's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, everyone knew that. Doesn't really change the needle. I forget his name. But yeah, he's another guy that got screwed. Veritas guy. I always forget his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. And Gavin McInnes is back. And Gavin McInnes is always nice to listen to. Very, very smart guy. Great at like analyzing and breaking stuff down. Gavin McInnes was on Alex Jones earlier today. But it's tough, right? Like, you've got to just train, practice, network. And as soon as you get enough stuff, try to decentralize some of it. Train, practice, network, over and over and over again. Root out the pieces of shit, and then just keep getting better and better. And buy my book. Did you already buy it? Did you already buy a copy of my book? Buy my book and then tell everybody about my book. And then if you already bought my book, leave me a review. But I mean, that's all we can do. Keep trying to warn people. Keep trying to talk to people. So for example, like my neighbors the other day, it took a really long time, but eventually, like, my neighbors and I, we happened to be outside at the same time as one of the other neighbors' houses was burning down. And we had a little talk, and then we set up some time for them to come over and pick fruit. And we picked fruit, and they said they would freeze dry a bunch of our fruit for us. And I'm like, we don't have to be friends. We just have to be, allies. You know what I mean? Their cow gets out. I help them get their cow back. Maybe next year I'll get some cow manure. It's just, it's these little like random acts of kindness, that build these relationships that make your community stronger. So like, we've been patrolling the church, and the last time we patrolled the church, we found all kinds of alcohol and other liquids in bottles that just looked really disgusting. And we kind of leveled up a little bit and have some grabby claws, so we can use the grabby claws to pick up the garbage safer. And more people have been bringing flashlights so we can see the garbage easier. And then I'm going to try to talk them into putting up floodlights and cameras. And that's what you do. it's iterative. You're not going to turn your house or your church into Fort Knox overnight. You're not going to turn your community into this hardened, fucking battle hardened, thing overnight. But it's iterative. You make like little steps. And a huge chunk of it, I think, is being able to navigate normalcy bias, navigate distractions. That's tough. It takes a lot of practice. And the thing is, so many people want to be little Billy badasses, and so many people want to be right, that they would rather be right in their brain. Not really right, but in their brain they think they're correct. They would rather feel like they're being correct than actually like networking. So if my neighbor says something, I just go, okay, cool. And I notice they do the same thing with me. Okay, cool. Whatever. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't know. I guess this is how we talk to each other. Okay, cool, whatever. But then every once in a while they chirp up on something that I didn't expect, like this fucking pit bull keeps running around. And I said something and they sounded a little too eager right after I said that. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm going to tuck that away for later. That was interesting. It takes a long time for people to trust each other, so that's something that you got to deal with. It takes a long time for people to open up. But honestly, the longer it takes to earn somebody's trust, the stronger that bond is going to be. And the more resilient and the better your conflict resolution is going to be, which means like the more harder shit you can ride out, for example. Which is good. That's what you want. If things are too easy, you haven't really earned it, and it's not really that solidified. It takes work. Relationships take work. And too often, especially since the Rona, not only are people just not used to talking to each other anymore, but people aren't used to disagreeing anymore. You don't have to go fucking nuke the person back to the Stone Age because you disagree with them. I can't remember who I was talking, about this a couple weeks ago. But, just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean you have to go fucking thermonuclear war on them. And all too often what happens is people look for reasons to disagree so they can cut the shit off as fast as possible because they're uncomfortable. Instead of like looking for reasons to agree, they look for reasons to disagree, and they get pissed off when I say that football's gay. Sorry, it is. Like, that's my opinion. If it's going to piss you off, then whatever. Why don't you just realize that football's gay and get over it? Like, that shouldn't offend you. Like, just accept the fact that it is. So I don't know. I spend all my spare time fortifying my homestead, which is mostly trying to fortify my trees in my garden from the deer because they're just relentless. I think it's hilarious to me that, people talk about church and talk about God and then they go watch sports instead of going to church. It's like, does God make exceptions because you want to watch sports? Is that how that works? I don't know. That's kind of weird. Is it a vacation? Can you take a vacation from church? Is that how that works? But I also think at the same time, churches are just such like well, not all, but most churches are just such like lukewarm money laundering mills that if you go to them, you're just supporting all their bad habits. It's kind of weird. You got to find a good church. Churches are so worried about maintaining everybody that they watered everything down. It's like, well, why don't you stop being bitches? How about that? Why don't you start being a based church, and then you'll attract more people and you won't have to worry about offending and losing people. And kind of my rule of thumb, what I told people was, if they were a pro-vax church, fucking dump them. If they're an LGBT church, dump them. Like, they're not going to have your back. They're not going to want to defend their church. They're not going to want to defend you. It's just a performative, theatrics. Anyway, either my chat lagged out or I ran everybody off. But my sinuses are hurting and I've been talking nonstop since like 7 a.m. or something, I think. I'm actually not sure. I've been talking a lot today and I've been working a lot today. So, I hope this has helped somebody, and it's good talking to y'all. And seriously, buy my book, and if you already did, please leave a review. I want to beat the algorithm, and I want to be in the top 100 with all of the other books that I really like. I think my book is good enough to where it should be in the top 50. I think at least 25 of the books in the top 100 don't even deserve to be there, so I think my book is good. So please check it out and let me know. It helps. It helps. All right, so I think I lost everybody. I will talk to you all. I'll try to do another video soon, and now that the Charlie Kirk thing is hopefully leaving the news cycle algorithm, hopefully we can move on and talk about other stuff without the algorithm burying us back to the Stone Age for not having some new stupid conspiracy every fucking day. It just feels gross to chase that algorithm. Just feels gross. Everybody should be ashamed of themselves because it's gross. I was going to do the civil unrest video before it happened because that shit's just bound to happen. And then out of respect, I waited. So, and then I waited like a whole week before doing more videos. So I wish everybody else had been that respective too, but they're filling the power vacuum. So I will try to do more videos, and I appreciate you all. Buy my book. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.